all I have to say is buckle up, because it's literally now November, and it's starting just to come full circle, not just in college, but in NFL for sure. Trade deadline happened Tuesday. Big trades coming out of the league. We're gonna go over all the big trades and all the big moves. We're going to talk about some of the coaching changes that are happening also in the league as well. Some big coaching changes have happened over the past couple of days as well. Recap a tremendous week 9. We're going to preview and predict some top matchups for week 10 and find out who's in and who's out for this week's injury report. Guys, it is a big week. Big week in college, big weekend in the NFL. Let's buckle up, because we're getting ready to go. Here we go, right? Here we go. Buckle up. It is time to settle in. Welcome to Pigskin Frenzy on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joel Norris, and whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, listening on Podbean, listening on Apple, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some NFL coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple, all you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram, just type in Pigskin Frenzy. Follow up the pages there. You're going to get episode updates. You're going to get news and highlights from across college and NFL football. You're going to get trivia questions on Instagram stories, going to answer today's NFL question, as well as all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, all you have to do is just go to the website as well, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. There you're going to find all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Home and About Me page. Learn more about me as your podcast host. Contact info, name, question, email. I'm going to get to it on air or off air if need be. If need be. Platforms page. All the platforms I just mentioned. You can go click on which one's your favorite listening style of the show. And brings us to our affiliations page. Just brings us to our proud partner of the podcast, the Beard Club. If you want a great shave, which I got to shave and get this stubble off here shortly. If you want a great shave and you want to look really, really good, all I'm going to say is this. What you need to do is go to the Beard Club. You're not going to want to miss what the deals. You're not going to want to miss how to look good. Significant others are your male counterpart. Listen up. You're not going to want to miss what I'm saying right now. There to grow your beard, to make your beard look nice and fresh and clean. There are beard growthing kits and beard grooming kits as well. There's beard vitamins, beard growthing vitamins, beard oil, beard balm, beard and face wash, boar bristle brushes, combs, razors, and more. There's also 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioners, body wash, and loofahs, and more at the Beard Club if you need for grooming, for other grooming needs as well. Just go to my website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. There you will find the affiliations page. Click on the affiliations page. You will go to the Beard Club logo and click on that logo. And once you click on that logo, you're at the site. Go to my link tree. It's at the description of this YouTube video down below. Click on the description of this YouTube episode, and you'll click on the link tree. You'll go to my X bio, my Instagram bio, and my link tree is there. Click on the link tree, click on the Beard Club link, and it will take you to the Beard Club site. The Beard Club has a pre-Black Friday sale going on right now. Pre-Black Friday sale going on, 25% off with the code PREBFRY25, PREBFRI25. That is the code, 25% off for the pre-Black Friday sale at the Beard Club. The Beard Club, proud partner of Pigskin Frenzy. It's going to help our grooming needs and facial hair needs be met. Thank you for being our proud partner of the podcast. NFL day today, we're going to rock and roll here. Going to go quickly through the games, because we got a lot to cover here, but not as quick. I want to go in depth with the games, but not overdo the in depth. You know what I'm saying? Not overdo it, right? We wanted to go in depth on this show, but we don't want to go too deep. And today we're going to go over the games. We're not going to go too deep, but we're going to kick it off with a week 9 recap, because we got a lot to cover here on this jam-packed Thursday afternoon going into evening before tonight's Thursday night football game that we are covering here on Pigskin Frenzy. Just a spoiler alert there. Let's recap week 9, shall we, before we get into the big moves, the big coaching changes, and my thoughts on everything here. Let's talk about first off, the early game for week 9. Week 9 recap, Cowboys and Falcons. I picked the Falcons to win this game, and by the way, I was 4-0 in my college, 4-0 also in my NFL. You know, Call me Houdini if you want to. No, seriously, please call me Houdini because I feel like I am Houdini right now. I'm like magic, 4-0 in both. I went 8-0 overall. If you want to calculate both college and NFL, I went 8-0 in all four NFL and college. So all 8 games that I covered and picked right, 8-0. Got every game right, no game wrong. So call me Houdini for this past week. Hopefully I can do the same this week for both. But without any further ado, let's talk about the Cowboys and Falcons. And I picked the Falcons to win this ball game. I thought that the Falcons were, to me, just going to be a little bit too much, especially coming off of a huge loss for the Cowboys. I think the Falcons are just better suited right now and better right now. Final score of this game was Falcons 27, Cowboys 21. I got it right. Let's talk about the Falcons and what they did right because they did really good. Kirk Cousins is the man. I don't know if you guys know that by now and know that how much that I like and admire Kirk Cousins at quarterback, but I really admire Kirk Cousins at quarterback. He had 222 yards, 3 touchdowns, 19 for 24. Bijan Robinson had 86 yards. Tyler Aguilar had a touchdown, 18 yards. Darnell Mooney had a touchdown, 88 yards through the air. Ray McCloud had 28 yards and a touchdown. Drake London had 27 yards and a touchdown. Some key injuries in this game for both teams. Drake London has a hip pointer. We're going to talk about that one here on the Pigskin Frenzy NFL injury report. Not really a loaded Pigskin Frenzy NFL injury report, which is pretty good because we have a lot to get into, but also good for the sake of hardly a whole lot of no injuries this week, which is really, really good. And it's more good news this week than bad, so which is pretty solid. But the Falcons just look really, really good on offense. The Cowboys just could not keep up. And what I have been, kind of just thinking about the Falcons, to me, it's just me. Slowly but surely, week by week, they're getting better and better and getting more confident in their team in general. They are. They're getting a lot more confident as they win these ball games, as they come down the stretch and keep on going. They are 4-0 in their division. They have beaten the Saints. Panthers once, beaten the Saints once. They have beaten the Buccaneers twice. They're 4-0 in their division. They lead the NFC South right now. They are now 6-3. They could have a higher spot in the playoff. The Falcons, the way they're going with Kirk Cousins, they are rocking it. They are rocking it in Atlanta right now. They're getting more and more confidence, and I can tell. And it's not just on offense; it's on the other side of the ball too. Their defense looks more composed. They look, like they're more elite on defense, more fired up on defense, if you will. If you want to look at the defense just in general, for example, Caden Ellis looked really, really good for the Falcons. Excuse me, as I look at my notes, he had 13 total tackles and a sack. He looked fired up out there on defense. They're playing physical football on both sides of the ball, and they're moving the ball very, very well on opponents. Now, I'm not saying the Falcons are right now, and this game showed it because they looked really, really good. I'm not saying that they are the best team in the league, but I am saying that they are gaining more confidence as the week goes on. So I would kind of keep an eye on Atlanta only for the fact that they are gaining more and more confidence, and that's a game right now where if you have them on your schedule, you got to just play your cards right and don't underestimate them. That's for sure. They had one turnover, one fumble, not enough to change anything or change an outcome of the game. But here is my circle moment for the Falcons. Let's get ready for the circle moments here. My circle moment for the Falcons: penalties. I just did the circle on the desk. Penalties. They had 4 penalties. It was 4 penalties is like, okay, it's not, phenomenal, but it's close to it. That's pretty good. 4 penalties for 26 yards. That's not compared to where they were, not as bad. So penalties, they minimized the penalties. They played more disciplined ball, and they looked good doing it. So that's a big circle moment for the Atlanta Falcons there. only 2 sacks allowed, and that was pretty good too. The third down efficiency, it needs to get better. They need to win on third down a lot more. But other than that, they look pretty good in this game. They look like a more confident team as the weeks go on. So I would watch out for the Atlanta Falcons. Coming up for the Atlanta Falcons Sunday, they have the New Orleans Saints. Saints, 1 Eastern, noon Central, an NFC South Division game. Falcons at Saints coming up this Sunday. Let's see how the Falcons do in that one. That was 27-21. Let's talk about the Cowboys really quick. There is really nothing that is going right for the Cowboys. And I'm going to get to that when we talk about the trade deadline, because the trade that I saw was absolutely rough. Okay, we're going to talk about that in the trade deadline. Well, let's talk about the game itself for the Falcons. For the Cowboys. 2 circle moments for the Cowboys. Let's talk about this. Penalties. 9 penalties for 55 yards. Let's talk about the other thing. Another circle moment. 3 for 13 in third down efficiency. They didn't have any penalties, which was good. But the third, not winning on third down, committing too many penalties is not good in the magnitude of this game. And this is a game that you really need to win, right? You really need to win. Now you're 3-5, and big news coming out of the camp. You have 2 of your key players that are hurt, and that's Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. We're going to talk about that on the injury report here in a minute. Dak Prescott goes down, and then after that, he left the game. It was pretty much smooth sailing for the Falcons from there. Cowboys are not really physical. They can't really, they ran the ball, which is surprisingly, they're not really that physical, though. The physicality from Dallas is not there on both sides of the ball, on both sides of the line of scrimmage, on O-line and D-line. They just don't look as physical. And breaking news coming out from yesterday, Micah Parsons could play Sunday as well. So we're just going to have to see what happens with the Cowboys coming up Sunday. But 137 rushing yards, that's a lot of rushing yards. That's more than what the Cowboys are used to for sure. They ran the ball a lot better than that was my surprise for the Cowboys. They ran the ball team-wise a lot better. But if you look at the yardage by the running backs, 12 carries, 75 yards. Dak Prescott he was the second leading rusher. Dak Prescott was 3 carries for 30 yards. Prescott had 133 yards and a touchdown, 18 for 24 before he went out. Cooper Rush came in. He was 13 for 25, 115 yards and a touchdown through the air after Dak Prescott went out with a hamstring injury. So it makes sense that the second leading rusher on the team is Dak Prescott right now. They really can't run the ball a whole lot effectively, and 137 yards was surprising to me. That was a big start. That's another big circle moment for the Dallas Cowboys this Sunday. But if you look at the Dallas Cowboys as a whole and who they are, and this game defines it, who they are as a whole, right now, they're not a playoff team. They are a team that is just really inconsistent in a lot of areas, and they just don't know what they really want to do. And because it shows in their moves. They just don't know really what they're doing at this point. They're kind of just floating around a little bit, right? And I feel like, to me, that's Dallas right now. If we do not get a grip, and we've already been over the discussion about the Dallas Cowboys. We already had that heart-to-heart. But if we can just get a grip, find something, find a spark, something, and you make an accurate decision within this organization, it can get a lot better from here on out. But you got to make more accurate decisions, because your off the field decision making, right, to help the on field, right, is not really helping on the field. It's hurting your on field. You're not helping your roster. You're not helping the style of play. You're not winning ball games because of it. And that's really it. You got to get a grip. You got to find something to change. You just got to change. You got to change a lot. And we already know what that change is. I've said that change many times, but right now it's not changing. So all you got to do is just shrug. We're going to talk about the Cowboys here in the trade deadline news in a little bit. Final score of this game was 27-21. Cowboys coming up Sunday. They have the Eagles. Eagles at Cowboys, 4:25 Eastern, 3:25 Central. Eagles at Cowboys in Dallas. Let's see how the Cowboys do in this NFC East matchup. Okay. 3 more games. Let's talk about the Rams and the Seahawks, shall we? Because that game was entertaining. That game was really entertaining. Glad I covered it. Back and forth game. This was the closest game that I thought I was going to get wrong, honestly. It went into overtime. I mean, it was a back and forth affair until Matthew Stafford dropped a bomb to Demarcus Robinson, 39-yard bomb to Demarcus Robinson to get the win. 26-20, final score, Rams 26, Seahawks 20 in overtime in Seattle. Matthew Stafford hits another game winner. So the Rams did what they could. They played well. The turnover by Matthew Stafford wasn't the best, but 298 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was 25 for 44. Not the most accurate, but number-wise for passing and 2 touchdowns is pretty solid. Kyron Williams had 69 yards on the ground. Couldn't get a whole lot going on the ground. Cooper Kupp had 104 yards, 11 receptions. Demarcus Robinson had 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nakua didn't really factor into much because he was ejected from the game early. Do not throw punches, ladies and gentlemen. But I will say this. They made some big stops defensively, and that is what kind of won me over a little bit. If you look at Christian Roseboom had 11 total tackles. If you look at Quentin Lake had 8 total tackles and a sack. And their defense just looks great. If you're talking about Cameron Kitchens had 3 total tackles and 2 interceptions. If you look at Jaden McCullough had 6 total tackles and an interception. He just looked good, right? He looked really, really good. The defense looked really, really good in this game. I think the defense probably helped this game out more for the Rams than the offense did. Made some good stops defensively. The only thing on defense the Rams could not stop was Jackson Smith-Njigba, and we're going to talk about that because Jackson Smith-Njigba kind of had a field day on them receiving. But nonetheless, the defense stepped up in big ways. I think the decision-making by the Seahawks in overtime did not make a whole lot of sense, and that's what kind of cost them in this game, in my opinion. The Rams came through when they needed to. I think what's so good about the Rams is that how much heart that they have. And now that they're on the comeback, they're 4-4. By the way, spoiler alert, we're covering another Rams game this week. 3rd week in a row, we're covering the Rams. No, for those who are asking, we're not covering the Buccaneers again. So Buccaneers are going to be on a break for us this week because we've been covering the Buccaneers for a while. But the Rams again this week for sure on Monday Night Football. But the Rams are showing heart. They're showing poise. They're showing not willingness to quit. They're trying to come back, fight, and try to run the table. They're trying to surprise a lot of people. They're a team that they're kind of under the radar right now. So if you look at the Rams right now, they're second right now. I would say second, third in the NFC West, only behind pretty much the Arizona Cardinals, surprisingly. I would watch out for the Los Angeles Rams. If they keep winning these games, they're going to keep getting more confident, especially with Nakua back, with Kupp back, and they're both healthy. With the defense, the way their defense is playing, they're going to come back, and they're going to have a little bit more confidence in themselves in these next set of games, especially going into November. We're talking about teams like the Bengals trying to get some stride. The Rams are doing what the Bengals should be doing right now. And even though the Bengals won, they lost to the Eagles. The Rams hadn't been losing. They've been winning games that you wouldn't really expect them to win. They're winning these games. They're getting some pep in their step. They're getting some confidence in them. They're playing physical on the other side of the ball on defense. I'm just saying, I would watch out if I'm teams playing the Los Angeles Rams moving forward. This is a very underrated football team that a lot of teams may want to not underestimate if they have them on their schedule. I mean, final score. I mean, really, if you want to look at some circle moments for this game, really, some circle moments for this, for the Rams, it's the three turnovers that they snagged. They snagged 3 turnovers. Geno Smith threw 3 interceptions. So the circle moment there for the Rams is they got 3 turnovers, and that was a big, crucial part in the Rams winning this ball game. They weren't as efficient on 3rd down. They didn't. They turned the ball over themselves. They had penalties 8 penalties for 83 yards, which is not good. One big circle moment was 0 sacks allowed. 0 sacks. They did not get to Matthew Stafford once. And I feel like that was another big circle moment to help the Rams win this ball game. The Rams, Monday night, 8:15 Eastern, 7:15 Central, have the Dolphins at home on Monday Night Football. We're covering that game. I'm excited to cover that one. It's going to be a very interesting game for both, and you're going to think you're covering that one. I'll explain that once I get to it later in the episode and of the show. So 26-20 was the final score. This one in overtime. Matthew Stafford drops a bomb late in the game. He's just excellent. Matthew Stafford I'm still a Matthew Stafford guy. I do like some Matthew Stafford. He's solid, and he is playing solid still. Let's go to the Seahawks really quick, and let's talk about the circle moments that really kind of cost them. Three significant circle moments in this one. Number one, third down efficiency. They were 4 for 15. They did not. These are some negative circle moments. The positive circle moment I'm going to get to here in a little bit. 4 for 15 on third down. They weren't as efficient on third down. They really couldn't capitalize on those drives. Penalties, 12 penalties for 95 yards. They cost themselves in a lot of areas on these penalties. If you want to talk about another one, the last negative circle moment right here, 3 interceptions, 3 turnovers by Geno Smith, 3 crucial turnovers. Not good. And these are some things that really they got to clean up and be more disciplined on for their team moving forward. Now, if you want to talk about a circle moment in general, Jackson Smith and Jimbo went off in this game. The Rams secondary did not have an answer for Jackson Smith and Jimbo in this ball game. Okay, I mean, if you want to look at it, let's talk about it. 7 receptions for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. 180 yards, 7 receptions, and 2 touchdowns. They did not have an answer for this man. He was the go-to receiver. I think in overtime that the Seahawks should have found him because the Rams had no answer defensively for Jackson Smith and Jimba. That was really about it. Kenneth Walker did some damage, but not a whole lot. It was mainly Jackson Smith and Jimba. Tyler Lockett played well, 163 yards and a touchdown. But it was the play of Jackson Smith and Jimba really that got them in a lot of places and moved drives down the field. The problem was decision-making in this game, and penalties is what really cost them in this game, and I feel like they got to clean that up moving forward, and that's okay. Mike McDonald, first-year head coach, he's going to get everything going, going to get everything moving forward. Ryan Grow on offense, they're going to get everything locked down again, but they were doing really well at first, and then they kind of dipped in their performance, and now they're 4-5. That's not a good sign for the Seahawks, but maybe they can come back and do something again. But I think decision making and penalties and turnovers is what the basic no-nos, right? Is what we call them in football. Is what happened in this ball game. 26-20 was the final score in Seattle. Told you who the Rams have. The Seahawks coming up. As I'm trying to go to these games, Seahawks this week are on bye. So not only do they lose this game, they get to clean up some of the stuff that happened in this overtime loss this past Sunday. They are on bye this week, so they have nobody. Coming up next, though, is next Sunday, 4:05 Eastern, 3:05 Central. Next Sunday, it's in Santa Clara. It's an NFC West rematch between the Seahawks and the Niners. We covered that game a few weeks back. Don't really know if we're going to cover it again, but we're going to figure that one out soon. 26-20 was the final score in this NFC West matchup. Back-to-back NFC West games between the Niners and the Cardinals coming up as we get closer to Thanksgiving. Getting ready for that Thanksgiving special for Pigskin Frenzy. Already getting ready for that Thanksgiving special for Pigskin Frenzy. Let's talk about the Lions and the Packers before we move on to Monday Night Football and get ready for this injury report, trade deadline, coaching changes, and just move on here. Lions and Packers. Said that the Lions were going to win. I thought the Lions were in a bad spot. I really did. Bad spot going into the Green Bay game because I feel like it's a road game, tough environment. It's a rival game, NFC North. And they proved me wrong in a lot of ways. They overperformed in how I thought they were going to perform. Final score was 24-14. The Lions won by 10 against the Packers. The Packers brought it at the end, but at first the Lions were all over this team. The Lions are proving right now, to me, and I'm going to be completely honest, in the NFC, they're the best in the NFC. But one can argue on paper, it's the Kansas City Chiefs because they're undefeated. They're the only undefeated team. So on paper, the Chiefs are number one. But if you want to talk about the eye test and on the field, one can argue from a three-way debate between the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Lions. Right now, to me, the Lions are passing that eye test on both sides of the ball, defensively and offensively. I think they're better offensively than the Chiefs are right now. Hands down. I really do. I feel like the Chiefs are finally starting to come into their own offensively with DeAndre Hopkins, but the Lions in this game proved on the road, and they have back-to-back road games. We're covering the Sunday night football game between the Lions and the Texans here shortly, and this coming up Sunday night as well. But the Lions are proving in these, not only on the road at home, but on the road, that they're dominating. They've had their first few division games. They're having it on the road, and they're winning. So the Lions are proven to be a tough, battle-tested team on both sides of the ball, can move the ball really well, and they can run the football like it's nobody's business. And they're proving that, and they proved that in this game as well. Let's talk about my man Jared Goff. 18 for 22, 145 yards and a touchdown. How about Jahmyr Gibbs, 11 carries, 65 yards and a touchdown. David Montgomery, 17 carries, 73 yards. These running backs not only do they run the ball, but they can catch the ball as well. 3 receptions, 23 yards for David Montgomery, 11-yard reception for Jahmyr Gibbs. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 56 yards, 7 receptions and a touchdown. Sam Laporta had 28 yards and 2 receptions. And they looked really, really good moving the ball. Kirby Joseph, 4 tackles and an interception. If you want to look at Brandon Joseph, 6 tackles. If you want to look at Jack Campbell at linebacker, he had 10 total tackles. If you want to look at Carlton Davis, the corner, he had 7 total tackles. Alex Onlazone had 6 total tackles. Terrion Arnold, the rookie, had 6 total tackles. This defense is elite. I can just keep going with the numbers because their defense is still playing physical. I think that they had different packages to put pressure on Jordan Love. And I said that. Remember what I said? Oh, you don't have Aiden Hutchinson. Well, guess what? Speaking of edge rushers, we're going to talk about what the Lions just got at edge rusher. And you're not going to want to miss what I got to say at the trade deadline on that one. But they have different ways to pressure besides just on the edge. They can put some pressure and blitz in the middle. They have DB blitz. They can DB blitz like it's somebody's business, by the way. I've seen Brian Branch and Terrion Arnold get to the quarterback a lot this season, and they have been doing it well. And they got to Jordan Love. I think pressure on Jordan Love is what really, really hurt the Green Bay Packers in this game. Lions defensively looked really, really good. They got a couple of turnovers, and the Lions are just a solid football team on both sides of the ball. They're hungry. They are very hungry, and they're showing it, and they showed it in this ball game. No wonder why I'm covering the Lions, and it's because they look like a fantastic team. They're top 3 to me in the NFL currently right now. Let's have a circle moment, shall we? Circle moment for me in this game. For me, and it's really, really good for the Lions. Circle moment, positive circle moment for the Lions. If you want to circle it, 0 turnovers. They did not turn the ball over in a rainy environment in Lambeau as well. Did not turn the ball over. 2 negative circle moments. 4 for 12 on 3rd down. They got to get that cleaned up. And 5 penalties for 51 yards. That's not the. I mean, the penalties weren't all that bad, which it was a lot better than normal, which is good. But still play a little bit better disciplined in football for the Lions. But if you're talking about, 3rd down efficiency, that's got to get a lot better. I think that's the main negative circle moment for the Lions. Other than that, they played really, really well, ran the ball well, played really, really physical on both sides of the ball. The line of scrimmage battle was won by them, and they put a lot of pressure on Jordan Love in this game. Sunday night, they got the Texans. Tough environment. They got to go to Houston. 8:20 Eastern, 7:20 Central on NBC. Sunday Night Football. Sunday night, Lions at Texans. We're covering that game. Going to be a huge game for both teams. We're going to talk about that one here in a little bit. Let's talk about the Packers really quick before we move on to the Monday Night Football game and move on with our recap. Let's talk about the Packers and the circle moment here for the circle moment here, the good circle moment here for the Packers. They, on paper, outgained them in all assets of yardage. 411 to their 261, 273 passing compared to their 137. They outgained them in rushing, 138 compared to their 124. Yards per play, 6.6 compared to their 4.7. And you're wondering, why did they lose if they beat them on paper in all those facets of the ball game? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because the Lions played really, really good on the line of scrimmage, and they scored early. The Lions scored early, and they had a bigger lead early, and they got some stops. And this is where how they lost the game came in. Third down, negative circle moments for the Green Bay Packers. 3 for 12 in third down efficiency. That's not good. They did not capitalize on that. I'll tell you what, also, two more negative circle moments. Interceptions thrown, one big crucial turnover. Jordan Love is beat up a little bit. He's got a groin injury. He's playing through it. 10 penalties for 67 yards. That's the other circle moment as well. 10 penalties for 67 yards. They kind of shot themselves in the foot on a lot. And I think those are where that's where the loss came in for the Green Bay Packers. Not only that, the Lions just started off really, really fast. And I think that's really all you got to say about Green Bay. Listen, Green Bay's a good football team. They have a shot at going to the playoffs. They're 6-3. Lions are 7-1. The Packers have a shot at going to the playoffs still. The Lions are just catching up in the division and running away in the NFC North right now. I think that the Green Bay Packers are a solid team. Along with the Falcons, they're along that range. I think they're a team that is going to win more games, and I think they're a team that you do not need to underestimate if you have them on your schedule. Obviously, I just think that compared to right now, they're not better than the Lions right now, and I think that's what we saw Sunday afternoon. Final score was 24-14. Lions defeated the Packers. Packers Sunday, have no one. They're on bye. The Packers are on bye, so they get to clean up a lot. Jordan Love gets to rest. Next Sunday, 17th of November 17th, next Sunday, 1 Eastern, noon Central, Green Bay goes to Chicago. NFC North rivalry, classic rivalry, Packers at Bears, and we may have some coverage on that game next Sunday. That's an interesting ball game coming up next Sunday. Packers at Bears. We'll see about that one coming up next Sunday, and we'll see if we can cover that one coming up next week. So that's who the Packers got. Lions have Texans Sunday night. Let's move on, and let's go to Monday Night Football before we conclude our Week 9 recap and move on with the injury report and move on here. We're doing great on time. Buccaneers at Chiefs. I said that, in my opinion, my professional opinion, I'm not all the way professional. But my professional opinion, I said that the Chiefs were going to win. I think the Chiefs were going to be better. I think the Chiefs were going to be better on defense. I think the offense was going to look somewhat better, but not like the defense. And I was right. And D-Hop had a lot to do with this. Final score, Chiefs 30, Buccaneers 24 in Arrowhead. And it wasn't, anything like magical or a blowout. It was by the hair of their chinny chin chin. Overtime win for the Chiefs. Another overtime game for Pigskin Frenzy this weekend, or Monday night at least. But Chiefs, Buccaneers, final 30, Chiefs, Buccaneers 24. I was so hesitant on this game at first, but then I just went with my gut, and I just picked the Chiefs to win in Arrowhead on Monday Night Football. Let's talk about the Chiefs really quick. I thought they looked a little bit better better offensively. I really did. If you want to talk about some circle moments, Patrick Mahomes, 291 yards, 3 touchdowns, 34 for 44. That's a circle moment, sort of, but not really. 106 yards, 27 carries, and a touchdown for Kareem Hunt. He looked good at running the ball. He's looking like he's the old school type running back that they used to have again at Kansas City, and he's been doing really, really well. Travis Kelce, 14 receptions and 100 yards for Travis Kelce. Samaje Perine had 25 yards, 4 receptions, and a touchdown. Let's talk about one man, though, and he's coming into his own, and he is a helper for this offense. Not Kelce stepped up, yes, but a guy that just makes everybody grow around him, the vet in this league, and he's still got it. He's still elite. That's Mr. DeAndre Hopkins. D-Hop had 8 receptions, 86 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I knew that we were going to be talking about him sooner rather than later. He caught the football in triple coverage. He's a madman. And if you don't think so, go back and watch some of the stuff he did this past Monday and what he's done throughout his career. He hit the Remember the Titans celebration on people this past Monday night. Come on, man. I mean, come on. D-Hop that's the circle moment for the Chiefs right there. A positive circle moment right there, DeAndre Hopkins. Mahomes is obviously always a positive circle moment for this team, but Hopkins this past Monday and the running game as well, 2 positive circle moments for the Kansas City Chiefs. Another positive circle moment will be the play of Travis Kelce. 100 yards, 14 receptions. He played probably his best game he's played all year. He told everybody to hang in there, and we may as well hang in there. They're undefeated, 8-0. The defense had some positive circle moments. They played really, really well on defense, but the Buccaneers gave them some tests, man. They gave them a test. They really, really did. They really, really did. Some negative circle moments, if you want to be, truthful. 4 sacks allowed. They got to Mahomes 4 times. That's a questionable thing as the games move on ahead of the season for the Kansas City Chiefs. A negative circle moment would be the fumble. Not too bad, but the most negative circle moment for this team, for the Chiefs, would be the 4 sacks. Chiefs looked really, really good, in my opinion, in this game. Now, I'm going to sit here and say I'm not going to blow it out of proportion because, and this is not me hating, but the media tends to overhype the Chiefs and everything they do. 3 interceptions Mahomes throws. Mahomes is the best player alive. I'm not saying he's not the best player alive when I say that. I'm just saying that they blow out of proportion with all the hype. I understand where they're at and the position that they're at. They're the modern-day New England Patriots. I understand that. They're back-to-back defending Super Bowl champions. But at the same time, we got to chill out on the blowing of the sunshine up people's butts on the Kansas City Chiefs just a tad bit. Let's come back down to reality. Everybody has flaws. There are flaws in this sport, and the Chiefs have them. They're not immediately perfect like everybody thinks they are, but they are a good team. Defense looked really, really good. Steve Spags, I think, to me, is probably the MVP coach of this season, especially for the Kansas City Chiefs. You're wondering, the way they've been playing offensively besides Monday, for scratch Monday out, how have they been winning these games? Well, you look at Steve Spags and what he's been doing on defense. His defense is nasty. They are a top 2 defense. They are, to me, the second best defense in the NFL. Behind, maybe I would even put them at first. Even they looked solid. Steve Spags, solid coach. How does he not have a head coaching job? Is beyond me. Probably because he didn't accept any jobs. But moving on, the defense is a solid team, and I think that's what's keeping them in these ball games. Offensively, they did. The offense probably wanted a little bit more this Monday, which was good. But that's the first time really we've seen a glimpse of hope, a glimmer of hope in the Kansas City Chiefs offense this past Monday. Final score was, 30-24. Well, the only thing that concerns me moving forward now is Patrick Mahomes' injury. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, he's fine. He's fine. He's going to rehab it. And he may be fine. But if his ankle is really hurt off that non-contact, we're going to have to see how it goes moving forward. I'm going to monitor that. And I would monitor that, too, if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not going to sit there and say, hey, don't jinx anything. I'm not jinxing anything. I'm just being real. I would monitor that. That's something that I would keep an eye on because the way his body language was and the way he ran out on the field and he got helped off and then started running around and saying, I'm good. Mahomes is known to be a tough quarterback and known to be a tough guy and play through injuries. if he keeps getting hurt, if he keeps beating up that ankle, we're gonna have to see. Let's monitor that ankle. I'm concerned about that a little bit. But 30-24, Chiefs beat the Buccaneers. Buccaneers. If you want to look at some circle moments, the defensive line was a big circle moment for this team. They sacked Mahomes 4 times and got to him. They were sort of efficient on third down, 5 for 11. That was a positive circle moment for this team as well. A negative circle moment to me was the rushing. They had 95 yards rushing. They did their best rushing, but they couldn't run the ball all that well. But 95 yards rushing was a negative circle moment for me. I feel like time of possession just got a little bit away from them. 40 minutes to the Chiefs compared to the Buccaneers 25. If you want to look at the penalties, 6 penalties for 50 yards, big no-no there. It just was, in a lot of ways, on the line of scrimmage, just wasn't happening for the Bucs, especially on their offensive line. Excuse me. Now, if you want to look at their defensive line, that was the glimmer of hope for this Bucs team. They played really, really well against the Mahomes and this offensive line. They did really, really well. But they lost again. This is their third straight loss. They lost to the Ravens, Falcons, and Chiefs. But that's just the brunt of their schedule. That's a hard 3-game stretch that they had to play, and they lost all 3. They're 4-5. They got to regroup. They got to rebound, and they got to figure out, okay, how do we get back on track here? And we're gonna figure that out, right? Sunday they got a game at home, tough game, 1 Eastern, noon Central, against the San Francisco 49ers, against a team that is coming off of a bye. They're about to probably get their superstar running back in Christian McCaffrey. How do we plan around Christian McCaffrey? I bet they've been planning around that, especially since it's a short week. It's not looking good because it's a short week. It's planning around a superstar running back, defending offensive player of the year in McCaffrey, and the 49ers are coming off of a rest week. So that's not the best outcome you would want, but we're gonna have to see. Something could happen. Let's just see. Right now, the Bucs are having a tough time at the brunt of their schedule, and I think that's what's happening due to that and injuries. And injuries have played a big part in these losses. I think that's what's happening. Looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Chiefs Sunday have the Broncos, a divisional game. Keep an eye on that game. It's an interesting game. The 1 Eastern, noon Central, Broncos at Chiefs. It's in Arrowhead, but Chiefs are 8-0. Chiefs are 8-0. Broncos are 5-4. Interesting game there. Broncos are 5-4. Let's see how Sean Payton in Denver go into Arrowhead in that AFC West matchup in that one. Can they try to upset the Chiefs like the Broncos did last season? Final score of this game was 30-24. Chiefs defeat the Bucs in overtime to remain undefeated. That was the Week 9 recap of the NFL season. We're going to get to the Week 10 preview and predictions later on here in a little bit. Let's talk about the Pigskin Frenzy NFL injury report. And let's talk about, let's talk about the trade deadline and the moves being made and the coaching changes. Pigskin Frenzy NFL injury report looks like this. Big news out of Dallas. Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott tore his hamstring. He's looking to get further evaluation and further opinions. The time he will be placed on IR and he will miss 4 games. The timetable for recovery for that is 4+ weeks. So that's a tough loss for Dallas, for a lot of stuff going on with Dallas as well. Thoughts and prayers are with Dak. Hopefully he heals quickly and makes a speedy recovery, but that's a tough loss for Dallas when they're already struggling right now. CeeDee Lamb, on the other hand, CeeDee Lamb has a sprained shoulder, AC joint, but the good news is he could play Sunday versus the Eagles. Now, it's not for sure. He's still questionable, but he could still play Sunday because it's not as bad as initially feared. So that's good news for CeeDee Lamb, and hopefully he makes a speedy recovery for his shoulder. On the other side of that, Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown, He left the game, Jaguars game, early because of his knee injury. He could play Sunday versus the Cowboys, so it's no structural damage is done to his knee. That's good news. Thoughts and prayers are with him. Hopefully he makes a healthy recovery as well. Good news for A.J. Brown going into Sunday. Falcons wide receiver Drake London had a hip pointer during the Cowboys game this past Sunday. He is considered day-to-day, and he is questionable this week, but he is considered day-to-day. So that's very good news. It's not as bad as initially feared, so hopefully he has a speedy recovery and gets back out there as well. 49ers running back, we already talked about this. 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey with his Achilles tendonitis could make his season debut versus Buccaneers Sunday. He's been practicing. He's looking healthier. He's looking good, so he may make his season debut Sunday against the Bucs. So tough sledding for the Bucs. Good news for the Niners, especially coming off of that bye week. They needed their superstar playmaker back. So, good news for the Niners, and happy for Christian McCaffrey, and welcome him back as well. Titans safety Quandre Diggs with a Lisfrantic injury is out for the rest of the season. Thoughts and prayers are with Quandre Diggs. Tough loss in the secondary for the Tennessee Titans, and hopefully he makes a speedy recovery there. Bengals running back Zach Moss has a neck injury. He's been placed on IR and will miss 4 games. That is a tough loss for the running game for the Bengals, for a team that really needs to run the ball a whole lot better. So the Bengals on offense can run the ball a lot better. They had Chase Brown. They got Khalil Herbert in the trade. We're going to talk about that one here in a little bit. So that's going to be some good news for the Bengals, but tough break that they lost Zach Moss for 4 games. So thoughts and prayers are with him. Hopefully he makes a speedy recovery and everything goes all right for him. Panthers running back Jonathan Brooks with his knee has been activated and added to the active roster, but he is questionable to play this coming up Sunday. Hopefully he continues to make a speedy recovery. Don't rush it, obviously, but hopefully he makes a speedy recovery and gets back in it quite soon. So good news for the rookie running back Jonathan Brooks. And some big news out of Houston. Texans wide receiver Nico Collins could return Sunday night versus the Lions. Due to his hamstring injury, he's been on IR. He is been practicing. He has no setbacks, and he is most likely to play Sunday night versus the Lions. The Texans get a good piece of their offense back with Nico Collins at the right time with the Detroit Lions coming into town Sunday night. So speedy recovery there. Thoughts and prayers with everybody on this list. Hopefully everybody makes a speedy recovery, and everybody welcome back, especially who are coming back on this list as well. So that was the Pigskin Frenzy NFL injury report. Let's move on to the trade deadline and talk about the trade deadline because it was active. Very, very active. And let's kick it off with some big news, starting with the secondary. The Saints have traded cornerback Marshon Lattimore to the Washington Commanders. The Commanders have been a hot spot in the trade deadline. A lot of people have been wanting to go there, and they picked up a big fish. One of the most underrated and most decorated corners in the game is going to the Washington Commanders. That boosts the Commanders secondary big time. Marshon Lattimore is now a Commander. The Saints get a huge asking price with him in an early day 2 draft pick, and the Commanders are getting a solid corner and defensive back in Marshon Lattimore. So big news there. That's going to elevate the Commanders' defense even more. The Commanders are doing something there, especially with the culture shift and the leader around Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn as head coach. They're doing something down there. Solid team there for the Commanders. They got a game against the Steelers Sunday. We're going to talk about that because we are covering the Steelers and Commanders game Sunday. So watch out there for the Commanders. The Jets have traded wide receiver Mike Williams to the Steelers for a 5th-round draft pick, and the Steelers get a good receiver. Is Mike Williams the same receiver as he was early on in his career? Probably not, but he can still make some good. He still runs the routes good. He can still make some good acceleration after catch. He's an underrated target, an underrated threat, and he can do good in the Steelers offense with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's going to get a big target, and that's Mike Williams to help out Pat Freiermuth and George Pickens as well. So good on Mike. Good on the Jets for making this trade. They get a good 5th-round pick out of Mike Williams for this. They been talking about trading Mike Williams for a while, and the deal is finally done. So they could use that 5th-round pick for sure. I don't know what they're going to use it on or what they need yet, but that's too early to tell. But Mike Williams is going to be a good target for Russell Wilson early on, as expected. So the Jets trade Mike Williams to the Steelers for a 5th-round draft pick. The Packers have traded edge Preston Smith to the Steelers. The Steelers pick up an edge rusher in Preston Smith, underrated edge rusher in Preston Smith. That helps out the D-line for the Packers there. Adds some more depth to that D-line. They pick up a solid, underrated pass rusher there for the Steelers. So good on Pittsburgh for elevating their pass rush even more and causing some problems to their opponent's O-line. So good trade there and good choices there. Another one, and this is big one right here. The Browns have traded. This is what I was talking about earlier. The Browns have traded defensive end Zadarius Smith and a 2026 7th-round draft pick to the Lions for a 2025 5th-round draft pick and a 2025 6th-round draft pick. So 2 key draft picks for 2025 are going to the Browns, and a 7th-round pick, and Zadarius Smith is going to the Lions. So when Aiden Hutchinson comes back and Marcus Davenport comes back, you're also going to have Zadarius Smith there as well. So you can rotate Zadarius Smith, Aiden Hutchinson, and Marcus Davenport around. That's dangerous. And especially without Aiden Hutchinson, it's still dangerous because they had an underrated pass rusher in Zadarius Smith. So they needed that badly, and they got one. Zadarius Smith going to the Lions. Why did y'all let this happen? I do not know, but it happened, and Zadarius Smith's going to be a Lion, and that's going to be tough sledding, especially Sunday if he plays and makes his debut against, the Texans. So C.J. Stroud could be in for it, maybe, Sunday night. So Zadarius Smith going to the Lions. Big news there. The Browns have traded edge Baron Browning to the Cardinals for a 6th-round draft pick. Good trade for the Cardinals there. They needed help to elevate their pass rush as well. So good pick there. And the Browns and the Broncos get a 6th-round draft pick out of that as well. So the Broncos trade edge Baron Browning to the Cardinals for a 6th-round pick. The Bears are trading running back Khalil Herbert to the Bengals for a 7th-round draft pick. Good for the Bears. They get a late pick, and the Bengals get some depth at the running back position because they really need it after that Zach Moss injury, and they get a Khalil Herbert, and Khalil Herbert can help elevate that running game even more on offense for Cincinnati. So still trying to find their footing in the running game, and that could probably be some icing on the cake right there for the Bears. So good for the Bengals and for the Bengals. So that could help the Bengals out in some big ways. The Rams are trading cornerback Tre'Davious White to the Ravens. Why are you guys letting this happen? I don't know. You're adding him to a deep secondary with Marlon Humphrey, with Kyle Hamilton, and now Tre'Davious White. So a solid secondary, a solid defense with Baltimore, and you're just adding him to the mix. So how could you guys let these cheat trades happen? This is ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. It is ridiculous. But Tre'Davious White's going to add a lot of depth and a lot of veteran, seasoned veteran ball hockey ability to this defense and secondary. Watch out if you're playing against this Ravens secondary. It's going to be tough to beat now that you got those 3 guys on the same team. So good trade for the Rams. They get some good draft picks out of it, and Tre'Davious White goes to the Baltimore Ravens, where he helps out a veteran secondary even more. So a good trade there for the Ravens and the Rams. Last but not least, before we move on to the coaching changes and the preview and predictions for this show, let's talk about, in my opinion, the worst trade of the day. The Panthers are trading wide receiver Jonathan Mingo and a 2025 7th-round draft pick to the Cowboys for a 2025 4th-round draft pick. And you're probably thinking, okay, how's that a bad draft pick? Jonathan Mingo has 1 reception, 1 yard. All of this season. And they traded for him because we're going to get active in the draft. Trust me, that's what Jerry Jones said. And they get active by getting a receiver who hasn't gotten much love, who hasn't played much, and they give up a 4th-round draft pick for him. They could have used that 4th-round draft pick on a lot of other things, but they gave it up for a guy that's not really proven that much in the league yet. And that's nothing against – I just dropped my pen. That's nothing against Jonathan Mingo. Like, at all. Like, that's nothing against Jonathan Mingo at all. Like, please trust me when I say that. It's not. But when you look at it on paper, that was a horrible trade. Horrible trade. They could have used something out of that fourth-round draft pick. That's my problem with the Cowboys. It's always been my problem with the Cowboys. They don't know how to make good decisions anymore. And this wasn't a good trade at all. They could have used it for anything, and they didn't. They wasted the fourth-round pick, and they traded away a good fourth-round pick for somebody who has not been seasonally proven yet. Tough break for the Cowboys. I don't like the trade. I'm not trying to dog anybody, but I just don't like this trade at all. They say they're going all in, but that's the problem with the Cowboys. You just don't see it. You really do not see it. And that's my point. That's my point with this trade. It's an awful trade. They trade Mingo and a 7th-round pick for 2025 to the Cowboys for a 2025 4th-round pick. The Panthers completely won this trade. Hands down won this trade. Cowboys lost it. Nothing against Mingo. It's just not the smartest move when you could have gotten a good pick out of that 4th-rounder for this upcoming draft. So I don't know what was going on there. That was the top news from the trade deadline. All the trades that have been made in the trade deadline. Glad that the trade deadline's over. There's a lot of trades that have been out there that we've been covering, and trade deadline's over, and a lot of trades that were expected to happen or thought were going to happen did not happen. So we're going to see what happens later on during the offseason and next season, but that's the trade deadline. And let's talk about some of these coaching changes, because that's what interests me. The Raiders have fired offensive coordinator Luke Getsy, offensive line coach James Craig, and quarterback coach Rick Scangarello. Scott Turner may fill the OC job for Las Vegas, according to Antonio Pierce. So they get rid of majority of their offensive staff after that 2-7 start. They need to rejuvenate themselves on offense. Now, what's it going to look like now that Luke Getsy's not calling the plays and Scott Turner may be calling the plays? I do not know that for certain. But right now, they need things like a quarterback. Gardner Minshew is good for the rest of the year, maybe, but long term, is he the guy? They may want to draft a quarterback. They may want to get in and address some of the other offensive needs as well. Tom Brady being an owner of this team, and if they want to give him that 5% ownership and make him a significant part of the organization and decision-making when it comes to, like, football operations, if they give him a significant part of football operations, this team will probably go from a 2-7 team to a team that you better fear, because Tom Brady can build a winning team. He's built a winning team as a quarterback. He could probably do it as a businessman as well. And he's going to invest in this team long term. So if they do that, he can change a lot within an organization. The Raiders are kind of struggling on offense, and it shows. We're just going to have to wait and see. To me, and I'm not trying to hate on this, a lot of people think Antonio Pierce was the guy. I really did not think they should have hired Antonio Pierce to begin with. I'm not trying to say I am an Antonio Pierce hater or anything. I don't hate Antonio Pierce at all. I like Antonio Pierce. I just don't think he's the right guy for the Raiders job. That's just my honest take. Honest thoughts. Go debate amongst yourselves if you want to. I don't really think he's the right person for the job, but that's just me. The Saints, and this is a big one. The Saints starting off 2-0. And now they are 2-7 after losing 7 straight. And after that, the Saints have fired head coach Dennis Allen. The Saints have named special teams coach Darren Rizzi as interim head coach. Rizzi has said that they are going to reevaluate everything and changes will be made before the next head coach comes in. This was a long time coming. It was a long time coming from last season. I thought that Dennis Allen wasn't the best last season either, and this season was no exception after they started losing games. I thought when they went 2-3, I thought that he wasn't going to be there much longer, and I was kind of right, I guess. 2-7. They're not trending towards the right direction. They're getting worse and worse by the week. and it's not really good coaching wise. So a change needed to be made. Nothing against Dennis Allen. I think Dennis Allen's a good guy. I do like Dennis Allen, but business decisions are business decisions, and the Saints need to move on, and the Saints need to be a better football team. Now, who do they get as their next head coach? We don't really know. Hopefully, I mean, they hired an interim within Dennis Allen. I would think they're going to go outside and get another head coach, but we're going to figure it out and see. Right now, the state of the Saints organization is not good when it comes to winning football games. They got to figure out, okay, how's the defense longevity going to look like? How is the offense going to hold up? How are we going to maintain these leads? How we're going to be exciting? How are we going to be disciplined and physical again? And we need to maintain some of that physicality again. And I think that's what where the Saints are at right now in reevaluating everything. So they're gonna figure that out, and hopefully they get the right person in there for the job. They have let go Dennis Allen, and Darren Rizzi is now the interim head coach for the rest of the season. So the Saints head coaching job's open, the Jets head coaching job's open. We're going to see who fills those vacancies, and we're going to see who fills the Raiders offensive coordinator vacancy and O-line and quarterback coach vacancies as well. So those are the coaching changes going on across the NFL. We got to this show pretty quick. Let's talk about and let's discuss our preview and predictions. Week 10 preview and predictions, the top games that we are covering for this weekend for NFL here on Pigskin Frenzy. Week 10 preview and predictions. Let's start it off, and this is a good one. Let's start it off with tonight. Tonight's game on Prime, 8:15 Eastern, 7:15 Central on Amazon Prime. Kirk Herbstreit, Al Michaels on the call. AFC North rematch, Bengals at Ravens. Bengals are 4-5. Ravens are 6-3. Bengals are coming off of a huge explosive win against the Raiders. 5-touchdown win against the Raiders at home. Finally won a home game. Finally got some momentum. Ravens are, coming off of a huge win against Denver. They're trying to continue their momentum and pick up some more momentum in the AFC North race. The Bengals are trying to shape up everything in that race. The last time they played was Week 5 on October 6th, where the Ravens defeated the Bengals 41-38 in overtime. The Bengals had the lead the whole game until the very end. They kind of blew that game. They kind of did blow the game away. The Bengals did, and they had that win in their hands until the Ravens stormed back and won. Let's talk about some of these keys, because it's interesting, because it's not in Cincinnati now, it's in Baltimore. So the Bengals, they're kind of in a must-win here tonight on Amazon Prime. So Thursday night football, Amazon Prime tonight. Bengals keys are simple. Number one, slow down their running game. You got to slow down their running game. Baltimore is currently first in rushing offense in the league. Cincinnati is currently 24th in rushing defense in the league. So they have a hard time stopping the run. Besides their defense, the Bengals offense and Joe Burrow, especially Joe Burrow, is playing like he is the MVP of this season. He is leading in a lot of statistical categories, the Bengals are. We're going to get to that in a little bit. But the defense has to slow the Ravens down like they did in the first game, but they got to maintain it. They got to maintain slowing them down and maintain that lead and not let their foot off the gas and put them away, because they had them in the first game, the Bengals did. But they got to put them away here. They got to slow down the run. It's going to be hard to do. Number one, slow down that running game. Number two, start off fast. You have an MVP type caliber playing quarterback right now in Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is playing like he's the MVP of this league. He's going off by throwing it. He's solid through the air. He's been solid all season through the air. He leads the league in touchdowns. He's a solid playmaker for this team, and he went off in that Raiders game last week. He started off fast then, start off fast now, and then maybe you can win this ball game. So start off fast and catch this Baltimore's defense on its heels a little bit. Number three, beat them through the air, because Cincinnati, if you think their rushing defense, they can't really stop the run. And running the ball offensively, they're kind of low. But if you look at it through the pass, they're lights out when throwing the football. Cincinnati is. They're currently 7th in passing offense in the National Football League. Baltimore, and it's an interesting stat because they can stop the run. They're first in rushing defense in the NFL, right? They're dead last in passing defense. That's an interesting stat. They are currently 32nd in passing defense in the league, the Ravens are. If they can beat them through the air and get that secondary, and no wonder they got Tre'Davious White to help out in that secondary because they need it, apparently. Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey are good when it comes to in the secondary, but they need some more help. That's why they got Tre'Davious White in there. But if they can beat them through the air, it could be a long night for the Ravens, and the Bengals can pull off an upset here in Baltimore. Those are the Bengals' keys. Let's go to the Ravens' keys in this one. Number one, establish that running game effectively. Run the ball with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Balance it out. Run the ball effectively and just eat up yards on the ground. The Bengals are going to have a tough time stopping it. Number two, get to Joe Burrow. Pressure him. Get some sacks. Force as many 3-and-outs as you can and pressure him, and then you can ice the game that way defensively if you are the Ravens. Number three, you have to slow down their passing attack. Just like I said just a minute ago, they're 32nd in passing defense in the league. If you got to find a way to up that number and slow them down, because the Bengals are going to throw it, they're going to sling the rock. And Joe Burrow is a very accurate quarterback, and he's been an accurate quarterback so far this season. So throw, even though the record doesn't show, he's been an accurate quarterback so far. So just slow down the passing attack, slow down Joe Burrow there, and that's how you can probably get a huge win tonight. Those are the Ravens' keys. That was the Bengals' keys just a minute ago. Who do I have winning this ball game? I think this game's going to be close, just like last time. I think it's going to be close. I think the Ravens are going to run the ball effectively. However, I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to roll the dice. I think the Bengals are going to. I think they're going to run effectively, but the Bengals are going to get enough stops on the ground. They're going to get enough stops on the ground. And I think that Joe Burrow, through the air, can beat this passing defense currently right now. I'm going to roll the dice. I trust the Bengals defense to slow down the run more than I trust the Ravens defense to slow down their passing attack. I think I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to say they hold on to the lead. I think the Bengals win late. The Bengals squeak by a win, pull off the upset against Baltimore tonight late. They win the game 28-21. Bengals 28, Ravens 21. The Bengals go to 5-5. The Ravens go to 6-4, and the Bengals get a must-win tonight. Excuse me, the Bengals get a must-win tonight, and they defeat the Ravens, and they kind of shake things up in the AFC North. Bengals 28, Ravens 21. The Bengals pull off the upset and get the win. So I'm rolling the dice with that one. Let's see. Sunday, early afternoon. Well, Sunday day, early afternoon. 1 Eastern, 1 noon Central. Steelers at Commanders. Solid game that's going to be. Steelers are 6-2, coming off of huge wins. Coming off a huge win this past weekend. Commanders coming off a huge win against the Giants. Let's see how they do, the momentums, and let's see if the momentum keeps shifting in one or the other's favor. Steelers' keys are pretty simple. Right? The Steelers' keys are pretty simple. Number one, you got to find a way to slow down that offense. Commanders are solid on their offense with Cliff Kingsbury. Washington is currently third in offense, but Pittsburgh's defense is pretty solid. 9th in defense in the NFL. They got a top 10 defense. Let's see if they can find a way to slow down Washington's offense and Jaden Daniels in this one. Number two, force turnovers. If you can find a way to get Jaden Daniels to turn the ball over and get some fumbles on the ground, and if you can find a way to get that going, you should be good if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number three, Russell Wilson has to have a breakout game in this one, I think. I think he's got to play lights out. He's got to move the ball down the field well. He's got to put up some good numbers, and I think that's how and the offense has got to look really, really good through the air. I think that's how the Steelers win this game, if Russell Wilson can just have a breakout type game. Those are the Steelers' keys for me. The Commanders' keys are pretty simple. Number one, establish that running game, man. They are third in rushing offense in the league. But here's the caveat to that. Pitt is 4th in rushing defense in the league currently. So something's got to give here. If they can run on this defense, who is a top 5 rushing defense in the league, you should be good enough to win this ball game. Number two, force turnovers are your own right. Get Russell Wilson to throw some interceptions. pop the ball out, fumble it, get some turnovers, and capitalize off those turnovers if you are the Commanders. That's a big one there. And here is probably, I think, where is a huge winner for the Commanders here. Big key for them. Number 3, win on third down. Right now, they are currently 4th in third down conversion rate in the league. Top 5 in converting on third down. If they are very efficient on third down, they keep drives going and they score off those drives. So if you can keep doing that and winning on third down, that's a huge, huge, huge advantage for the Commanders. That was the Commanders' keys. Those were the Steelers' keys. Who do I got winning this ball game? I think it's going to be back and forth at first. I think in the fourth quarter, the Commanders run away with it, though. Home field advantage matters, and I think that the Commanders on third down is what really is going to get the Steelers in this one. I think their third down conversion is a little bit better than their defense. I think their third down offense is a little bit better than what their defense is going to bring to the table. I think the Commanders win this game. I think they win 31-27. Commanders 31, Steelers 27. The Steelers go to 6-3. The Commanders go to 8-2. 8-2 for the first time since the late 90s. First time since the late 90s. Probably the first time in a long time. Commanders have a winning record, and they are winners and leading in their own division, NFC East. They are the number 2 seed in the playoffs currently if things were happening now. So Commanders 31, Steelers 27. Commanders win, and they defeat the Steelers and get a good home win. Commanders defeat the Steelers. Sunday Night Football. Sunday Night Football, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Lions at Texans. Sunday Night Football, 8:20 Eastern, 7:20 Central on NBC. Sunday Night Football, Lions at Texans. Lions are 7-1. Has a huge wave of momentum off these road games and winning on these road games. Texans are 6-3, coming off of trying to get some steer and spark some momentum in their own right for their team as well by beating a top-ranked Lions team. Now, the Lions' keys are pretty simple in this game. Number 1, establish that running game, right? Detroit is currently 6th in rushing offense in the league. Houston is currently 13th in rushing defense in the league. So they probably got a good enough defense to kind of contain that running game. So if Houston can do that, Lions will be in trouble. But if the Lions can run the ball effectively with Montgomery and Gibbs, it should be a good night for Detroit's offense. Number 2, slow down their passing attack. Houston is currently 13th in the league in passing offense. And on defense, they're currently 27th in passing defense in the NFL. So that's tough for the Detroit Lions. If you can find a way to break up those passes like the Packers did, watch what the Packers did on breaking up the slowing down that passing attack. And if they can do that, it should be a good night for Detroit in this one. And number 3, pressure C.J. Stroud. I think the addition of Zadarius Smith is huge. You can do some of those blitz packages with the linebackers and the defensive backs and safety blitzes and add some of those unique pressures to C.J. Stroud. But now that you got another defensive end on top of the ones you already got now that are injured, but you got Zadarius Smith through the trade, and if he plays, you can add him to the list of guys that could probably pressure C.J. Stroud. So pressure C.J. Stroud, force him to make some mistakes, and force him into some deep water Sunday, and you should have a solid night and should win this ball game, maybe. Here are the Texans' keys. The Texans' keys are pretty simple. Number 1, establish the running game. Houston is currently 11th in rushing offense in the league. Joe Mixon is a solid back. He can run the ball, and when he gets going, he gets going. So Detroit's got to figure out a way to combat that. Currently 5th in rushing defense in the league is Detroit. So something's got to give there. Detroit can slow the run down. They're very good at it. But if Joe Mixon gets hot, that could cause a lot of issues for Detroit's defense and Detroit Lions as a whole in this football game Sunday night. So they want to try to figure out a way to get Joe Mixon going in this one. Number 2, find a way to force some turnovers. If Jared Goff can throw 2 or maybe even three picks maybe in this game, and it's crucial and they can capitalize off those turnovers, maybe that's a good sign for the Houston Texans Sunday night. Number 3, slow down their running game. Montgomery and Gibbs are absolute animals, right? They effectively run the ball well, and if you can figure out a way to just slow down that run effectively and just slow down and contain them, you can find a way to win this ball game. That was the Texans' keys. Those were the Lions' keys just a minute ago. Who do I got winning this ball game? I think it's going to be back and forth. I think the Texans are going to bring a presentable challenge to the Lions, especially offensively. I just think that the Lions have a good wave of momentum. You would think this is a bad spot, but I'm not going to count this as on paper, it looks like a bad spot for them coming off of a huge road win against Green Bay. But at the same time, they continue to defy the odds, and I cannot go against Detroit. Right now, Detroit, in my opinion, Detroit will win this ball game. They're going to win this game Sunday. They're going to win it close. I don't think that the Texans are going to lay down. It's going to be a close game. I think the Lions are going to win by a field goal. Lions 27, Texans 24. Lions 27, Texans 24. Texans go to 6-4. Lions go to 8-1, and only solidify talks as the best team in the league so far. Lions 8-1, Texans 6-4. Lions 27, Texans 24. The Lions defeat the Texans on Sunday Night Football this Sunday night. Last game before we conclude our episode of Pigskin Frenzy, Dolphins at Rams. Dolphins are 2-6, Rams are 4-4. Monday Night Football, 8:15 Eastern, 7:15 Central on ESPN. You're going to think, why did you choose this one? Well, I chose it over the Bucs because I did not want to do another Bucs. I've been doing a Bucs game for a long time. I think the Dolphins need to have some recognition. The Dolphins have been on a losing streak. Yes. But let me just tell you something. The way the Rams have been playing, right? The way the Rams have been playing, and the way that they've been coming back into this game on their own and coming back into the fold on their own and getting more and more confident in their winning abilities and trying to make it to the playoffs, right? And try to win and try to, search for a championship hunt, right? The Dolphins are in a tough spot because they're 2-6, right? But record doesn't mean a whole lot. I'm going to tell you that in a minute because on paper, Miami's not bad. And if you want to look at it on the game, they're not really all that bad either. They played a close game against Buffalo, a close game against Arizona. The problem is Tua's been out. They didn't have a quarterback, and that's why they're 2-6. I think if Tua would have been in the whole time, the games would have been different, and Miami would have a winning record. Honestly, I think that's what was happening. I think the losing record comes from Tua being out. Not blaming it on anything. I'm just being honest how it is. That's just the name of the game. Dolphins are 2-6. Rams are 4-4. I'm going to tell you why here on these keys. Record doesn't always show it. And then why this is going to be an interesting game. Number one for the Dolphins. These are the Dolphins keys. Number one, start off fast. If you start off fast, start off hot, catch the Rams defense on its heels a little bit, you should be good in this game, I think. I really, really do. I think you should be good in this game. I think that if you start off fast with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, I think you should be good right here in this game if you start off fast. Number two, establish the running game. Currently, Miami is 9th in rushing offense in the league. They're top 10 at running the football. Currently on defense for rushing for Rams, the Rams are currently 23rd in rushing defense in the league. So they have a hard time slowing the run down. Miami can run the rock. The Rams have trouble running the ball also. So that's pretty good key for Miami. If they can run the ball a lot and they have hard time stopping the run, it may be smooth sailing for the Miami offense coming up this Monday night. Number three, pressure Matthew Stafford. If you can find a way to get to Matthew Stafford, call some interceptions, call some turnovers, sack him a little bit, you should be fine in this ball game. Those are the Dolphins' keys. Let's go with the Rams' keys in this one. Number one, you got to win on third down. You got to play a little bit better on third down. LA right now is currently 23rd in third down conversion rate in the league. You got to get a little bit better than that on capitalizing on some of these drives and winning on third down. It's an important stat. You got to win on third down a lot better. They're 23 in third down. If you can up that, you have a shot at winning this game Monday night. Establish the running game as well. That's number two. They don't run the ball very well, and I think if they can run the ball a lot better and create more balance in their offense, the Rams will look a lot better, I think. So I think that if they can run the ball well, I think that I just think that they can do it. I think if they run the ball well, I think they can have more of a chance at winning by more than closer games than advertised, right? They just got to run the ball better. Number three, win on third down defensively. Miami is currently 14th in third down conversion rate in the league. That's top 15, getting closer to the top 10. That's not great, but it's not bad. 14th in third down conversions for Miami. If you can stop them and get Miami's offense off the field for as many 3-and-outs as you can, you have a shot at winning this ball game. And here's a side note. Miami is currently 4th in passing defense in the league. They're 4th in passing defense in the league. So they have a really, really good pass defense. So if Matthew Stafford wants to, air it out long, he's got to think twice about it, because the pass defense can either break it up, cause some turnovers, and it can cause some chaos there through that pass defense. So tread carefully. Who do I have winning this ball game? I think it's back and forth. It's a home game, and I was really inconsistent on who I'm going with in this game, because it's a tough ask for both teams. But this is a but. Home field advantage matters. However, even though they are on a winning streak and I picked them the past 2 times, I'm going to roll the dice, and I'm going to say the Rams lose this one. I think the Dolphins are going to take this one and win the game. They're going to upset them, win outright. I think the Dolphins go into LA in SoFi and beat the Rams outright. They win 27-20. Dolphins 27, Rams 20. Dolphins go to 3-6 and get a much needed win, and the Rams go to 4-5. Dolphins 3-6, Rams 4-5. They're not completely out of it. The Rams aren't, but the Dolphins get a much needed win here. 3-6 for the Dolphins, Rams 4-5. Dolphins 27, Rams 20. The Dolphins get a huge win on the road on Monday Night Football. So I'm rolling the dice with 2 big picks for these games, for covering these games for Week 10. That was the Week 10 preview and predictions for Pigskin Frenzy and the games that we were covering. That is all that we got for Pigskin Frenzy today. A big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday afternoon and just taking some time to just listening to me and presenting, some NFL coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple, all you got to do is just share around with others and follow as well. X and Instagram, type in Pigskin Frenzy, follow up the pages there. You're going to get episode updates, news and highlights from across college and NFL football. You're going to get trivia questions on Instagram stories. Go and answer today's NFL question, as well as all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Shout out to our partners at the Beard Club. Go and get their pre-Black Friday sale deals now, 25% off. We will be back Tuesday with our Week 11 recap of college football, our Week 12 preview and predictions for the top games that we're covering for Week 12. We're also going to talk about our second set and our next set of Frenzy playoff rankings. You're not going to want to miss that for Week 12. Going into Week 12, our next set of Frenzy college football playoff rankings coming up on the podcast. Until Tuesday, I'm Joel Norris signing off. We will see you then. Enjoy college football this weekend. Great slate of games coming up. Great set of games coming up for NFL this weekend as well. Again, Joel Norris signing off. We will see you Tuesday. For everybody out there, please and always stay the course.